right. Well, welcome everybody, and good to have you viewing our Glory podcast, and glad that you're watching and listening again. And so, Adam, this will be our third session on the Glory Vision and Mission series.
We've done a lot of the groundwork the first 2 weeks, talking about what vision and mission are, and how we can get off base. When we interpret those terms from the scriptures. And then last week we did a lot of work looking at how our mission here at Glory Fellowship is rooted in the scriptures. It's rooted in a lot of ways in the heart of God, which is where it ought to be. And so a lot of groundwork, and today we get to kind of move into each of these dynamics, each of these missional components and what they look like at Glory.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and last week when we were looking at scripture, and kind of how what everything is based off of, we had mentioned that we could have a podcast that lasted for hours with all the examples out of scripture, and so you had chosen a few passages to explain that and everything, so I thought that was really good, and
I intentionally chose Old Testament passages. Because I want us to be mindful of the fact that mission and disciple making are not just New Testament principles.
Right.
They are rooted in history. They're rooted from the beginning in what God's purposes were.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we encourage you to go back if you have not done so and listen or watch the first two episodes on this, and as we continue on with this series, it'll kind of help put everything together, if you watch them all. So, so today we're going to be looking at the mission aspect of it, and kind of some things that we, are involved with here at Glory, and why it's so important to us and that type of thing. So,
and I just want to, we talked a little bit about this the first 2 weeks in the first two podcasts, and so I think it needs to be reiterated. When we talk about mission, the mission trips, the mission partnerships, the mission efforts, they all stem from the missional perspective and the missional passion. When we talk about missions, and we're going to get into some of the ways that's fleshed out, the ways we carry out mission opportunities here at Glory Fellowship. We're going to do that today, but I really want to get down to the help understand. Mission is a mindset. Mission is a heartbeat. It's not something that you just turn on and turn off.
Right.
It's not something that you say, okay, I'm going to go overseas for a week or two and then come back, and there's no mission. Mission is constant. Yeah. Mission is something that it's my heartbeat. It's what I do because that's who God is. God is always pursuing. God is always making his name and glory known throughout the nations and the world, starting at home. And so as we talk about the ways in which mission is carried out here at Glory Fellowship, I want you to keep in mind that every bit of this stems from what I hope is a missional impulse, a missional spirit and mindset that really is carrying us, whether I'm at the grocery store, whether I'm at the ball field, whatever it is that I'm doing, there's an opportunity to be missional there because I am entering into a world of spiritual darkness. I'm entering into a world of spiritual death, and I go as salt and light into the world, and so it's the perspective, it's the heartbeat, it's 24/7 of living intentionally on mission. And so, as we think about missions and the ways that is carried out here, one of the things that really has become a part of who we are at Glory Fellowship is this idea everywhere you go. And that comes from the scriptures. It's that everywhere we go is an opportunity in your neighborhood, in your workplace. I mean, yesterday we were in Ephesians. We've been working through Ephesians for the past several months here at Glory Fellowship and in preaching. And we talked about the workplace. And the workplace, our work is an opportunity for us to be a witness because people are watching us. And when we work with an incredible work ethic and treat others and submit to those in authority, and we don't badmouth folks and we don't take our work lightly, it's a witnessing opportunity. And so even that is missional. Right. Even that falls into the category of missions. And so those are some things that just stand out in the day-to-day. Now, I know we're wanting to talk a little bit about some other ways that carries out. I mean, we could go into a lot of things. One of the things that I think, and I really enjoy because my wife's a part of this, is our Operation Christmas Child effort. And it is something, the shoebox ministry. And when you think about mission, a lot of times you think about go, go, go. And we forget that from God's kingdom perspective and the kingdom work he's doing, he's got his people all over this world, Randy.
Yeah.
And so it's not like we have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
It's not like we always have to go to places to be on mission. We can send shoeboxes through organizations that have already been doing this and have a strategy and have people on site. We get to be a part of missions overseas and around the world of sharing the gospel by packing shoeboxes. What a creative, interesting way. And so, we've been doing that for years here. And one of the things I enjoy most about it is that on that Wednesday night when we're packing as a church family and we're praying over those boxes, it's a sweet spirit in the room. And to see kids, to see youth, to see younger adults, older adults that are involved in putting items in a shoebox that's going with the gospel. The gospel is going to be shared. It's going to be told there when they receive those boxes. I think is a very small but important way that we see missions here. What about you?
Right. Yeah, kind of going back to the foundation of everybody being on mission every day. It definitely has to start with that, and it is it's a mindset that you get to where you are putting others before yourself. And thinking of others all the time, and just getting out of this. Sometimes it's not even a thought out selfishness, but it's just our nature that
if the self is not crucified,
yes,
it's going to rear its ugly head.
That's right. And so we go back to that. And, I'm just sitting here. I'm not going to start, calling out examples and names and everything. But as you were talking, I was thinking of just different folks in our church who have that mindset and are always, doing things out in the community and a lot of things that nobody ever knows about. We kind of get word about it, but like nobody ever knows about. They do it. And
that's the way it ought to be.
That's the way it ought to be.
What did Jesus say? Don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. We've talked about this on a former podcast, I think, a couple years ago. In a social media world where we're all seeking the applause of others, doing things and serving the Lord and serving others without the desire for recognition is a hard thing.
Yep.
It's a tough thing to not let the left hand know what the right hand's doing.
Yeah, well, I'm jumping into it right now. I might get some feedback off this, but it doesn't have to be posted on Facebook, and it doesn't have to be on the front page of the paper.
That's it.
And that's really been our heartbeat from the beginning.
Yeah.
That we do things, we serve, we help, we do all these types of things, and we try not to advertise it.
You want to use social media to communicate.
Yes, that's right.
Not to self-congratulate.
Yes.
Communication is a good thing.
That's exactly right.
Wanting people to know what's going on, trying to get the word out. Hey, we've got an opportunity here.
Yes.
But man, even subtly, it can become a self-congratulatory thing where you post something or do something in what appears to be a humble way. Yeah. But in your heart, what you're hoping for is that like or that comment that strokes that ego.
Yes.
And Jesus says that's not a Christ follower there. That's not the way of Jesus. It's not the way of the kingdom. And so we have to be careful about that.
Yep, that's right.
To be on mission is about his glory, not our glory.
Yeah.
And, God doesn't tolerate glory thieves.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a big fan of those
right.
folks. So
exactly.
We have to be careful. All of us do.
Yes.
All of us do.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a ton of folks that serve in ways, as you were mentioning, in the community daily, and that's really what it's supposed to be about.
It is.
That's where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
That's where
that's
it starts.
Right.
So
yeah, and then that that heartbeat, as you were saying, if we can encourage our our entire church family to move in that direction,
yes.
Boy, man, how awesome would that be? And then that leads to our other events and different partnerships and all the different things that we're involved in, that we can talk about.
Yeah.
So.
I'm so excited right now when you think about mission. It's not that it's a new thing, but it has kind of reclaimed some importance and significance over the last few decades, and I'm thankful for it, is church planting.
Mm-hmm.
And, church planting, it's not glamorous.
Mm-hmm.
Church planting is not easy. Church planting requires hard work. It requires a lot of difficult days where there's not a lot of attention being paid. And a few years ago, I mean, we've at Glory have always had what we in our budget call partners in ministry, where we've supported church planting initiatives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we've done Arizona. Jeff Vanderford, they're doing an incredible work out there.
It's
man.
awesome.
I'm so excited about that. We were able to partner with them. Partnered with church plant in Burlington, Vermont. We've partnered in Chelsea, Alabama, with Scott Slayton and his group when they were doing some things. And a couple other places. Been to Louisville, Kentucky. A guy I knew planted a church on the east side of Louisville, doing some good work there, and thankful for that. But we really began to pray earnestly about what church planting would look like for us as a church family, and to see the ways God has blessed with Glory Winfield and perhaps some other opportunities coming up down the road that maybe we aren't even aware of yet. Church planting. I mean, starting a church with a group of believers in a place where there's a need for gospel saturation, where there's a need for biblical teaching and disciple making. What an incredible thing. So we're seeing church planting going on all over the world, but even here in the United States. And missionally, we see in Acts, that's how God carried out his mission in a lot of ways. Paul went around and he started churches in all of these different towns and cities, and then he circled back to check on them and to make sure that they were healthy and that they were growing, and to answer any concerns that they had. And we get to be a part of that. And for some people, again, that may not be the most glamorous work. It may not be the most exciting work because we live in a microwave society. We want everything done just like that. And church planting takes time. Church planting is something, it takes building of relationships. It takes a lot of prayer. It takes a lot of evaluation for a church plant to begin to grow and blossom. And I think sometimes if we're not careful in our desire to see something happen immediately and to feel that sense of euphoria that maybe we get from a mission trip or whatever else, we can overlook the good work that's going on missionally through church planting. And so that's another area where our church family, God's opened some doors for us to be a part of what's going on, whether it's in Winfield or in other parts of the United States. I'm really excited about that too.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it's been just very satisfying and to be a part of some of those things that we've been able to be involved in. Talking about Jeff and Authentic Life.
Authentic Life
is the name of the church over there, and boy, that was a God thing,
wasn't it?
Man, that was awesome. But
I'll never forget being out there. What did we take? We took about 19 folks out there.
Yeah.
And we won't get into all the specifics. We had actually gone out there to partner with another church plant.
Yeah.
They introduced us to Jeff, who was just starting, man.
Yeah.
And we did a basketball camp?
Basketball camp for them.
Out there at a school. And so led the basketball camp out there, which I'm thankful God uses sports in his kingdom as a tool. Yeah. Because I know you and I are big in sports, particularly basketball. And to see how that relationship grew was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So we're thankful for the work going on out there.
Well, we, so we've kind of talked about, each individual, having that mission-minded aspect and just kind of looking at the big picture. I was going to kind of start with, I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but I was just going to mention, it's kind of start globally, the international aspect of some places that we're involved in. And one of the things that I've mentioned to some folks, just talking about, we have 3 major mission trips each year overseas, and 3 teams that go to Uganda and Kenya and Brazil. And one of the things that's so beautiful about that, and I hope everybody doesn't get me wrong when I say this, but there is, with these 3 mission trips, there's follow-up.
Yep.
There's follow-up every time. And there's
people on site there.
Yes, there's people on site there. There's just a continuous thought pattern. After the trip, we're still thinking about what needs to be done, or what, all those things, and the teams are really faithful and excited about those areas. Of course, we have Glory, fellowship in Uganda,
Kamingo.
Yeah, and but anyway, so that's been a wonderful thing, that our church has been able to be a part of with those 3 aspects, plus some others that we send.
But those are regular.
Yeah,
we're sending teams, sending folks there. You and I have been able to go.
Yeah.
To be a part of what God's doing there, and as you mentioned, that's something that we take serious. We don't want to just jump in and jump out. We want to have people on site there. We want some oversight. We want some follow-up, and to see from year to year. And again, back to church planting, what I said a minute ago, sometimes that's not glamorous work. It's not immediate work.
Right.
It's a work over a period of time that you have to be patient. You have to persevere in giving and praying and going. I think about the Uganda partnership that we have, and there were some rocky years in the beginning with some things that took place, and just stuck to it. Tanya Evans, who's one of our members here, does incredible work, and she just kept sticking with it. And, we were able to see some growth and some pretty exciting things over there now, and so you don't get that by just going for 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
That's 10 years, man.
Mm-hmm.
And to see now the fruit of these kids, and school's been started there, the church there, and the people that are being reached in the community. I think about Kenya and our Sweetwater emphasis, and they just got back not too long ago. And Adam Kinsolv's giving me an update on the folks that they saw and how they're changing some things, and that's exciting stuff.
It is, yeah.
That hopefully those partnerships continue.
Yeah, that's right. So we're fortunate enough to be involved in those places as well, and then but our missions here, of course, we talk about locally and then nationally and globally. So we try to be involved in a variety of areas. Absolutely. And variety of ways as much as we can, and we don't have time to talk about everything that we support.
But even like yesterday in the Discovering Glory Luncheon, you talk about all these different partnerships. This doesn't even include our cooperative program partnerships.
Right, yeah.
So a percentage of everything that comes in, given-wise, money-wise, here goes to the cooperative program, which supports missionaries overseas, locally, which supports church planting, which supports disaster relief, seminary training. I mean, the list goes on, and that is a pretty good chunk of our mission budget just in cooperative program. It doesn't even include the Uganda, Kenya, and Brazil. And so, you think about the ways and the people that we don't necessarily have a one-on-one relationship with, that we're getting to bless. And again, it's kingdom work. It's not about glory work. It's kingdom work. Yeah. It's us partnering through the cooperative program. It's other Southern Baptist churches all over the world that are giving. And so we're together we can accomplish more. And so I'm thankful for those ways as well, even though we may not be able to put a name and a face with every missionary or every church plant. The work is continuing, and through the cooperative program, we're getting to be a part of it. Yeah,
that's right. And Adam, I'm bringing up some things here, so you just, whatever comes to your mind, we just kind of, today, everybody, we just kind of going back and forth and
celebrating what God is doing. And I hope you're catching this at home. This is not a sales pitch. This is two guys celebrating and praising the Lord for the doors He has opened, that He's allowed us as a church family to be a part of. Yeah, that weren't even on anybody in this church's mind. Yeah, when the church started 2 decades ago. Right. And I mean, it really, I hope it does come across. This is a celebration of the mission heart that God has instilled in our people here. And hopefully it becomes a wildfire that spreads into the lives and hearts of others, and everybody gets a passion for this. Even if you don't go to Glory, that you're in a sister church, or maybe you're not in a church at all, and you hear and you're thinking, man, I want to be a part of something bigger than just what I can accomplish. Local church work, man, it's kingdom work. And so I hope that today, as we talk about these things, that people are catching our enthusiasm, our excitement, our passion, and our church's passion for how God's working.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what this is about.
Yeah, it's I often tell this, and I always like to mention it in Discovering Glory, and I think I've mentioned it on here in a podcast episode before. But when my family and we first started visiting Glory. One of the things that was very important to us was a mission-minded church, and because that had always been very important to us, and it didn't take us long to find out that it was, and so we visited one time. We had the intention that we were going to visit other churches as well. But we visited one time, and that was it, and so we've never left. You've been stuck with us ever since then.
Stuck with you so much, put you on staff.
I know. So, but talking about each individual, changing their mindset to think in that regard, so my family, Amy and the girls, already had that mindset. And so, God had to work on me about that. And so, even prior to coming to Glory, they had been on some mission trips. I'd never been on a mission trip, and I know we're talking about more than mission trips, but
but that's part of it.
Yes, and so when we started attending here, and I became more involved, and God started working on me about going on some trips, but it was on those trips that God was already working on me, but that. Man, I mean, he really opened my eyes to some things, that he was wanting me to see and be obedient about. And so that's part of it as well,
to use an analogy, and I don't know how good of an analogy it is. It's not something I had thought a whole lot about. But, in the financial world, when a mutual fund or stock or something pays out a dividend or a capital gain, you have the option of reinvesting that.
Right.
And they tell you that if you're playing the long game, reinvest. Always reinvest your dividends. Always reinvest your capital gains, because you can buy more shares, things of that nature.
Yeah.
You just mentioned it. And, we know that it's more than just mission trips, mission events. But when God begins to stir you in those areas with a heartbeat and a passion for his kingdom work all over the world, starting at home, and you take that step to go and talk to that person, that neighbor that God's laid on your mind. When you take that next step to go and serve in a soup kitchen, a food pantry, when you take that step to go to Uganda, and you say, Lord, I've never been on one, I don't know, but man, there is a prompting here from your Holy Spirit. It's heavy on my mind. And you go, it's almost like the reinvesting. On that trip, God doubles down and he says, okay, you've been faithful with a little. You've been obedient with a little that I've called you to. I'm going to give you more passion, and more focus and more desire to be a part of my work locally, nationally, globally.
Yeah,
it's that reinvesting that those trips, when they're done right, it does. It almost, I don't know. It's like it refreshes you for even more experience of what God's doing.
Yeah, that's right. On the mission work, of course, we support a lot that things are done, as far as the physical needs for folks. But it is about sharing the gospel as well. That's got to be first and foremost. But we also have to take care of physical needs as well. But I think it's in Jeremiah. So forgive me if I'm wrong about that. But where he talks about that the word is burning so much in his heart that he can't help but share it. He can't help but share and tell others about God, and share the gospel with others. And That's that mission mindset that everybody has to have.
Absolutely. And, the Word and the Spirit do that within us.
Yeah.
It's not something that we just conjure up. There is, and we probably don't have time to get into this today. You mentioned meeting physical needs. There is a type of, I don't know if you call it mission work. I guess it could be. There is a type of work that can be carried out without the gospel.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not kingdom work.
Mm-hmm.
It's good work.
Yeah.
It's probably needed work at times.
Yeah. Because there are organizations.
There are
that
organizations.
do
and so the question that we have to ask, what makes us different
that. Yeah.
from the Red Cross?
Mm-hmm.
What makes us different from some of these other agencies that are doing good things and helping people? And there's times that we ought to support that.
Yeah, that's right.
But what is it that makes us distinct? Well, it's the fact that we're going in and not only offering physical help, but as we're offering physical help, we see a deeper need that we're also trying to meet through the gospel, through the sharing of the gospel, through caring and showing that Christian hospitality that the scriptures call us to show. And so, yeah, what makes us distinct and unique? And it is what you talked about. It's that gospel thinking. It's that the sharing of the gospel and meeting those deeper needs that sets us apart. And if we're not doing that, then what we're doing may be good, but it's not fully kingdom work. Mm-hmm. And and there's a lot of things that we could say about that, but just a reminder for us that, that there has to be that added dimension. Everything's got to be rooted and shaped by gospel proclamation.
Yeah.
That's what we're about.
That's right. I'm gonna. We can finish with this, Adam, unless you got some other stuff. But I wanted to, I guess, kind of closing the podcast, and we've been talking about it, been mentioning it, but to especially to our Glory family that is listening and watching and all. Just, I guess, let's talk about some ways that they can get involved. I mean, we've talked about them going, individually in their daily lives, and that's a big thing to start. That needs to be where it starts. But let's just talk about some things that they can be involved with throughout the year at Glory. From everything from what we support financially to actually physically doing something.
Well, just quickly as we get into this,
okay.
Back to, and this is not original with us. I'm sure we stole this from somebody, but it's really good.
Yeah.
The ways that we as a church can be a part, corporately and individually. Praying.
Yep.
Giving. Going.
Yep.
Praying, giving, going. And some people would say, well, praying, that just, prayer is the most important thing that we can do missionally.
Yeah.
Because prayer changes and shapes our heart. Prayer, God hears our prayers, and in his sovereign ability, hears our prayers and answers our prayers for the missionaries and the people that we're praying for our neighbor.
Yeah.
If we're not praying about missions, then our giving and going are lacking.
Yeah.
Prayer is the thing that sets those things on fire.
Yeah. And while you're sorry to interrupt you, but a lot of times on Wednesday nights, you've got certain specific things on the prayer card, and that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Is take those prayer cards and pray over those things that you've listed.
Yeah, be here on Wednesday night when we're praying for different missionaries, ministries, and then take them home.
Yes.
And make it a matter of personal prayer through the week. And so,
yeah, that's right.
Every single person watching the podcast, every single person can be a part of praying for a mission heart, for the work of God throughout the world, for some specific ministries that you know about, and for some specific missionaries that you know about. Everybody can be praying.
That's right.
And so when we meet together on Wednesday night, we're praying. When we're in care groups, there's times of prayer. You can do that at home. So what can we do? Everybody can start by praying. The giving aspect. Some ways people can be involved through the giving. When you give to the work, if you give to Glory Fellowship, just our general fund, just a regular offering here, we won't go through our entire budget, but as I mentioned earlier, 9% immediately off the top goes to cooperative program.
Right.
That's 9 cents on every dollar that's given that's going to support missional work locally, nationally, globally, in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
You add those 9 cents on every dollar together, that's a big gift every year that's given. You think about some of the other things and connections just through our general budget missionally that are supported through. And so giving, you want to be a part of mission work, financial giving, regular to the local church. Our Christmas mission offering is always a big thing at the end of the year. This year, another great gift from our church family, and 100% of everything that's given to the Christmas mission offering goes to support ministries or missionaries locally, nationally, globally. And so you want to be a part of, how can you get plugged in to God's kingdom work? Give, pray, give. And then I know what you were headed to is the going, which is not just going to some country, different country. It's going in some of the ways that we have it, some of the partnerships we have. I think about our fellowship at the Domain Ministry. And there's an opportunity there several times throughout the year that if people want to get plugged in, there's an opportunity to serve. It's in a location that's not far from our church facility. And so, whether it be Vacation Bible School there, whether it be Operation Thanksgiving there, those are some ways that people can get plugged in to the mission of God at the Domain. I think about Operation Thanksgiving down at the Civic Center that we do every year. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that goes on, and we're about to start a series of messages not too long from now centered on passing the baton. Passing that gospel baton, that disciple-making baton, that serving baton to others. Even as we're serving, we want others to run along with us.
Right.
And so getting involved in our kitchen ministry. Those are just a few examples. What's on your mind? What are some other ways that we can do this?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on the ones, that I kind of had in my head. And, I know we don't have time to start naming a bunch of areas, but especially for our members and, our folks that attend here, a good way to look at that is to, look at our budget sheet that has some of those partners listed there that are locally right here that have opportunities all the time to
that we have partnered with for years.
Yes, and whether it's handing out food or, clothing or just whatever else, but there's a whole list of local places that always need volunteers.
That you could drive from your house in less than 10 minutes.
Yes.
To be a part of it. And a lot of our people are serving in those capacities.
Yes, that's right.
It's pretty exciting, but there's always a need for more manpower.
Yeah.
Praying, giving, going. I think that is a good phrase right there for how people can get involved. And, you can start praying right in your home today. You can start giving this week. You can look up these local opportunities and pray about where God wants you to serve. Ask Him to prompt your spirit and to open a door for you to serve in one or two of these areas and to be a part of God's mission. And I promise you, the more that you do it, the more He is, as we talked about earlier, He's going to reinvest that passion.
Yeah, that's right.
He's going to reinvest that vision for missions and kingdom work that's going on all over the world. And if you'll be faithful with the praying, the giving, and the going of what you know, God will open up more doors. He'll give you more opportunities to serve and to be a part of what He's doing.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good word. Anything else?
There's a lot more. I think we probably need to stop.
Yeah. Well, I hope that gives everybody, kind of a clear understanding of what we believe in here and what we try to do year in and year out. I know one thing, I mean, my family's been here for, I don't know now, 12 or 13 years, something like that. And the word that I would use is consistent. This church has consistently, made that of the highest importance, so.
And if we ever make it not the highest importance, our church will struggle.
That's right.
We will struggle in a lot of different ways because God honors a people that major on what He majors on.
Yeah.
And as we saw last week in our look at missions from the Scriptures, God has a mission heart.
Mm-hmm.
God is the greatest missionary.
Yeah.
And He came down to rescue us, and He calls us to get on board with it.
Yeah.
And so whenever that becomes something on down the list and our priority here at Glory Fellowship, we will cease to be the church God's called us to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, Adam, that was I think that was a good discussion on that, and
hope some folks enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and are challenged by it. Hope you're encouraged by it as we celebrate. Again, it's a celebration of what God's doing.
That's right. Yep. So we'll continue with the series with the vision and mission here at Glory, and be talking about some other topics coming up. So as always, if you're looking for a church home, we invite you to come attend Glory. We'd love to have you at 9 and 10:30 on Sunday mornings and 6 o'clock on Wednesday nights. And this has been an episode of What's Happening at Glory.